we stop.
Yes, in the presence of Lord Krishna.
That's right.
Thank you.
Yeah. In the presence of Lord Krishna and others. Are we starting?
We should be starting.
In the presence of Lord Krishna and others, the Brahmana began to accuse Arjuna. Everyone see my foolishness. I put my faith in the words of Arjuna, who is impotent and who is expert only in false promises. How foolish I was to believe Arjuna. He promised to protect my child.
What's going on? Or something needs to go on, or can we start?
It's 89.
Chapter 89, and we're in the middle.
He promised to protect...
Wait, let's let them catch up. Then we'll begin.
It's like 3/4 through. And it starts with, in the presence of Lord Krishna and others.
Got it? Okay.
He promised to protect my child when even Pradyumna, Aniruddha, and Lord Balaram and Lord Krishna had failed. If such great personalities could not protect my child, then who can do so? I therefore condemn Arjuna for his false promise, and I also condemn his celebrated bow Gandiva and his impudence in declaring himself greater than Lord Balaram, Lord Krishna, Pradyumna, and Aniruddha. How can anyone save my child, who has already been transferred to another planet? Due to sheer foolishness only, Arjuna thought he could bring back my child from another planet. Thus condemned by the Brahmana, Arjuna empowered himself with the mystic yoga perfection so that he could travel to any planet to find the Brahmana's baby. It seemed that Arjuna had mastered the mystic yoga power by which yogis can travel to any planet they desire. He first of all went to the planet known as Yamaloka, where the superintendent of death, Yamaraj, lives. There he searched for the Brahmana's baby, but was unable to find him. He then immediately went to the planet where the king of heaven, Indra, lives. When unable to find the baby there, he went to the planet of the fire demigod, then to the planet of the Nirti demigod, and then to the moon planet. Then he went to Vayu Loka and Varuna Loka. When unable to find the baby on those planets, he went down to the Rasatala planet, the lowest of the planetary systems. After traveling to all these different planets, he finally went to Brahmaloka, where even mystic yogis cannot go. By the grace of Lord Krishna, Arjuna had that power, and he went above the heavenly planets to Brahmaloka. When he was unable to find the baby even after searching all possible planets, he then attempted to throw himself into a fire, since he had promised the Brahmana he would do so if unable to bring back his baby. Lord Krishna, however, was very kind toward Arjuna because Arjuna was the most intimate friend of the Lord. Lord Krishna persuaded Arjuna not to enter the fire in disgrace. Krishna indicated that since Arjuna was his friend, if he were to enter the fire in hopelessness, indirectly it would be a blemish on him. Lord Krishna therefore checked Arjuna, assuring him that he would find the baby. He told Arjuna, "Do not foolishly commit suicide." After addressing Arjuna in this way, Lord Krishna called for his transcendental chariot. He mounted it along with Arjuna and proceeded north. Lord Krishna, the all-powerful personality of Godhead, could have brought the child back without effort, but we should always remember that he was playing the part of a human being. As a human being has to endeavor to achieve certain results, so Lord Krishna, like an ordinary human being, or like his friend Arjuna, left Dwarka to bring back the Brahmana's baby. By appearing in human society and exhibiting his pastimes as a human being, Krishna definitely showed that there was not a single personality greater than he. God is great. That is the definition of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So at least within this material world, while he was present, Krishna proved that there was no greater personality within the universe. Seated on his chariot with Arjuna, Krishna proceeded north, crossing over many planetary systems. These are described in Srimad Bhagavatam as Sapta Dvip. Dvip means island. These planets are sometimes described in the Vedic literature as Dvipas. The planet on which we are living is called Jambudvip. Outer space is taken as a great ocean of air, and within that great ocean of air, there are many islands, which are the different planets. On each and every planet, there are oceans also. On some of the planets, the oceans are of salt water, and on some of them, there are oceans of milk. On others, there are oceans of liquor, and on others, there are oceans of ghee or oil. There are different kinds of mountains also. Each and every planet has a different type of atmosphere. Krishna passed over all these planets and reached the covering of the universe. This covering is described in Srimad Bhagavatam as great darkness. The material world as a whole is described as dark. In the open space, there is sunlight, and therefore it is illuminated. But in the covering, because of the absence of sunlight, it is naturally dark. When Krishna approached the covering layer of this universe, the 4 horses which were drawing his chariot, Saibya, Sugriva, Mega Pushpa, and Balahaka, all hesitated to enter the darkness. This hesitation is also a part of the pastimes of Lord Krishna, because the horses of Krishna are not ordinary. It is not possible for ordinary horses to go all over the universe and then enter into its outer covering layers. As Krishna is transcendental, his chariot and his horses and everything about him are also transcendental, beyond the qualities of this material world. We should always remember that Krishna was playing the part of an ordinary human being, and his horses also, by the will of Krishna, played the parts of ordinary horses in hesitating to enter the darkness. Krishna is known as Yogeshvara, as stated in the last portion of the Bhagavad Gita. Yogeshvaro Hari. All mystic powers are under his control. In our experience, we can see many human beings who have yogic mystic power and who sometimes perform very wonderful acts. But Krishna is understood to be the master of all mystic power. Therefore, when he saw that his horses were hesitant to proceed into the darkness, he immediately released his disc, known as the Sudarshan Chakra, which illuminated the sky 1,000 times brighter than sunlight. The darkness of the covering of the universe is also a creation of Krishna's, and the Sudarshan Chakra is Krishna's constant companion. Thus, he penetrated the darkness by keeping the Sudarshan Chakra before him. Srimad Bhagavatam states that the Sudarshan Chakra penetrated the darkness just as an arrow released from the Sharanga bow of Lord Ramachandra penetrated the army of Ravana. Su means very nice, and Darshana means observation. By the grace of Lord Krishna's disc, Sudarshan, everything can be seen very nicely, and nothing can remain in darkness. Thus, Lord Krishna and Arjuna crossed over the great region of darkness covering the material universes. Arjuna then saw the effulgence of light known as the Brahmajyoti. The Brahmajyoti is situated outside the covering of the material universes, and because it cannot be seen with our present eyes, this Brahmajyoti is sometimes called Avyakta. This spiritual effulgence is the ultimate destination of the impersonalists known as Vedantists. The Brahmajyoti is also described as Anantaparam, unlimited and unfathomed. When Lord Krishna and Arjuna reached this region of the Brahmajyoti, Arjuna could not tolerate the glaring effulgence and he closed his eyes. Lord Krishna's and Arjuna's reaching the Brahmajyoti region is described in the Harivamsa. In that portion of the Vedic literature, Krishna informs Arjuna, "My dear Arjuna, the glaring effulgence, the transcendental light you are seeing is my bodily rays. O chief of the descendants of Bharata, this Brahmajyoti is I myself." As the sun disk and the sunshine cannot be separated, Krishna and his bodily rays, the Brahmajyoti, cannot be separated. Thus, Krishna claims that the Brahmajyoti is he himself. This is clearly stated in the Harivamsa when Krishna says, "Aham sa." The Brahmajyoti is a combination of the minute particles known as spiritual sparks or the living entities known as Chitkana. The Vedic words Soham or I am the Brahmajyotir can also be applied to the living entities who can also claim to belong to the Brahmajyoti. In the Harivamsa, Krishna further explains, this Brahmajyoti is an expansion of my spiritual energy. Krishna told Arjuna, the Brahmajyoti is beyond the region of my external energy, known as Maya Shakti. When one is situated within the material world, it is not possible to experience this Brahman effulgence. In other words, in the material world, this effulgence is not manifested, whereas in the spiritual world, it is manifested. That is the purport of the words Vyakta Avyakta in the Harivamsa. In the Bhagavad Gita, it is said, Avyakto Vyaktat Sanatana. Both these energies are eternally manifested. After this, Lord Krishna and Arjuna entered a vast spiritual water. This spiritual water is called the Karana Ocean, which means that this ocean is the origin of the creation of the material world. This place is also known as Viraja, because it is free from the influence of the three qualities of the material world. In the Mrityunjaya Tantra, a Vedic scripture, there is a vivid description of this Karana ocean, or Viraja. It is stated there that the highest planetary system within the material world is Satyaloka, or Brahmaloka, beyond which are Rudraloka and Mahavishnu Loka. Regarding this Mahavishnu Loka, it is stated in the Brahma Samhita, Ya Karanarnava Jale Bhajati Sma Yoga Nidram Ananta Jagad Andasa Roma Kupa. Lord Mahavishnu is lying in the Karana ocean. When he exhales, innumerable universes come into existence. And when he inhales, innumerable universes enter within him. In this way, the material creation is generated and again withdrawn. When Lord Krishna and Arjuna entered the water, it appeared that there was a strong hurricane of transcendental effulgence blowing, and the water of the Karana ocean was greatly agitated. By the grace of Lord Krishna, Arjuna had the unique experience of being able to see the very beautiful Karana ocean. Accompanied by Krishna, Arjuna saw a large palace within the water. There were many thousands of pillars and columns made of valuable jewels, and the glaring effulgence of those columns was so beautiful that Arjuna was charmed by it. Within that palace, Arjuna and Krishna saw the gigantic form of Anantadev, who is also known as Shesha. Lord Anantadev, or Sheshnaga, was in the form of a great serpent with thousands of hoods, each one decorated with valuable effulgent jewels, beautifully dazzling. Each of Anantadev's hoods had 2 eyes, which appeared very fearful. His body was as white as the mountaintop of Kailash, which is always covered with snow. His necks were bluish, as were his tongues. Thus Arjuna saw the Sheshnaga form, and he also saw that on the very soft white body of Sheshnaga, Lord Mahavishnu was lying very comfortably. He appeared all-pervading and very powerful, and Arjuna could understand that the Supreme Personality of Godhead in that form is known as Purushottama. He is known as Purushottama, the Supreme or Best Personality of Godhead, because from this form emanates within the material world another form of Vishnu, known as Garbhodakshaya Vishnu. The Mahavishnu form of the Lord is also called Purushottama, Purusha Uttama, because he is beyond the material world. Tama means darkness, and Ut means above, transcendental. Therefore, Uttama means above the darkest region of the material world. Arjuna saw that the bodily color of Purushottama, Mahavishnu, was as dark as the new cloud in the rainy season. He was dressed in very nice yellow clothing. His face was beautifully smiling, and his eyes, which were like lotus petals, were very attractive. Lord Mahavishnu's helmet was bedecked with valuable jewels, and his beautiful earrings enhanced the beauty of the curling hair on his head. Lord Mahavishnu had 8 arms, all very long, reaching to his knees. His neck was decorated with the Kaustuba jewel, and his chest was marked with the symbol of Srivatsa, which means the resting place of the goddess of fortune. The Lord wore a garland of lotus flowers down to his knees. This long garland is known as a Vaijayanti garland. The Lord was attended by his personal associates Nanda and Sunanda, and the personified Sudarshan disk was also standing by him. As stated in the Vedas, the Lord has innumerable energies, and they also stood there in their personified forms. The most important among them were as follows: Pushti, the energy for nourishment; Shri, the energy of beauty; Kirti, the energy of reputation; and Aja, the energy of material creation. All these energies are invested in the administrators of the material world, namely Lord Brahma, Lord Shiva, and Lord Vishnu, and also in Indra, the king of the heavenly planets, Chandra, Varuna, and the sun god. In other words, all these demigods, being empowered by the Lord with certain energies, engage in the transcendental loving service of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The Mahavishnu feature is an expansion of Krishna's body. The Brahma Samhita confirms that Mahavishnu is a portion of a plenary expansion of Krishna. All such expansions are non-different from the personality of Godhead. But since Krishna appeared within this material world to manifest his pastimes as a human being, he and Arjuna immediately offered their respects to Lord Mahavishnu by bowing down before him. It is stated in Srimad Bhagavatam that Lord Krishna offered respect to Mahavishnu. This means that Krishna offered obeisances unto none other than himself, because Lord Mahavishnu is non-different from Krishna himself. This offering of obeisances by Krishna to Mahavishnu is not, however, the form of worship known as Angrahopasana, which is sometimes recommended for persons trying to elevate themselves to the spiritual world by performing the sacrifice of knowledge. Such persons are also mentioned in the Bhagavad Gita, Jnana Yagena Chapyanye Yajanto Mam Upasate. Although there was no necessity for Krishna to offer obeisances, because he is the master teacher, he taught Arjuna just how respect should be offered to Lord Mahavishnu. Arjuna, however, became very much afraid upon seeing the gigantic form of everything distinct from the material experience. Seeing Krishna offering obeisances to Lord Mahavishnu, he immediately followed him and then stood before the Lord with folded hands. After this, the gigantic form of Mahavishnu, greatly pleased, smiled pleasingly and spoke as follows. My dear Krishna and Arjuna, I was very eager to see you both, and therefore I arranged to take away the babies of the Brahmana and keep them here. I have been expecting to see you both at this palace. You have appeared in the material world as my incarnations in order to minimize the force of the demoniac persons who burden the world. Now, after killing all these unwanted demons, you will please come back to me. The two of you are incarnations of the great sage Nara Narayan. Although you are both complete in yourselves, to protect the devotees and to annihilate the demons, and especially to establish religious principles in the world so that peace and tranquility may continue, you are teaching the basic principles of factual religion so that the people of the world may follow you and thereby be peaceful and prosperous. Lord Krishna and Arjuna then offered their obeisances to Lord Mahavishnu, and taking back the Brahmana's children, they returned to Dwarka via the same route by which they had entered the spiritual world. All the children of the Brahmana had duly grown up. After returning to Dwarka, Lord Krishna and Arjuna delivered to the Brahmana all of his sons. Arjuna, however, was struck with great wonder after visiting the transcendental world by the grace of Lord Krishna. And by the grace of Krishna, he could understand that whatever opulence there may be within this material world is an emanation from him. Any opulent position a person may have within this material world is due to Krishna's mercy. One should therefore always be in Krishna consciousness, in complete gratefulness to Lord Krishna, because whatever one may possess is all bestowed by him. Arjuna's wonderful experience due to the mercy of Krishna is one of the many thousands of pastimes performed by Lord Krishna during his stay in this material world. They were all unique and have no parallel in the history of the world. All these pastimes prove fully that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Yet while present within this material world, he played just like an ordinary man with many worldly duties. He played the part of an ideal householder possessing more than 16,000 wives, 16,000 palaces, and 160,000 children. And in that role, he performed many sacrifices just to teach the royal order how to live in the material world for the welfare of humanity. As the ideal Supreme Personality, he fulfilled the desires of everyone, from the Brahmanas, the highest persons in human society, down to the ordinary living entities, including the lowest of men. Just as King Indra is in charge of distributing rain all over the world to satisfy everyone in due course, so Lord Krishna satisfies everyone by pouring down his causeless mercy. His mission was to give protection to the devotees and to kill the demoniac kings. Therefore, he killed many hundreds and thousands of demons. Some of them he killed personally, and some were killed by Arjuna, who was deputed by Krishna. In this way, he established many pious kings such as Yudhishthir at the helm of world affairs. Thus, by his divine arrangement, he created the good government of King Yudhishthir, and there ensued peace and tranquility. Thus ends the Bhaktivedanta purport of the 89th chapter of Krishna, the super excellent power of Krishna.
Om Jnana Timirantasya Gyananjana Salakaya Chakshun Militam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhistam Sthapitam Jena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadam Mahyam Tadhati Shapadantikam Vande Hang Shri Guru Shri Jatapada Kamalang Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Shagrajatam Shagana Raganatan Vitam Stam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Shagana Lolita Sri Vishakan Vitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dina Bandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kamshana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Rishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hori Priye Vancha Kolpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindho Bhyevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivashadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare. Brahman had each time proceeded to the gates of the palace of Dwarka to accuse the king, Ugrasena, of negligence and incapability, because the rule is that a child should not die before his father. If the child dies first, it means the king is not responsible. He's not performing his duty of protecting the citizens. So hearing the Brahman the ninth time, Arjuna spoke up and boastfully said, "Do you think there are no Kshatriyas in this kingdom? Maybe Ugrasena can't do anything, Pradyumna, Aniruddha, Krishna, Balaram, but I'm here, Arjuna, the carrier of the Gandiva bow, and I guarantee you that I can save your children from death. And if I fail, then I'll throw myself into the fire. So in this way, the Brahmin became a little reassured. This was after the 8th child, actually. Then, at the 9th pregnancy, the Arjuna was called. He came, he sanctified his weapons with mantras. He was all ready to go. And just when the child was born, his weapons flew into the sky and were lost. And Arjuna was powerless. So then the Brahmin, we're picking up the story, began to berate Arjuna. I was such a fool that I believed this boastful person who thought that he was better than Krishna and Balaram. Now I just see. So Arjuna, then using his mystic power, went to different planets to search for the child, but he couldn't find them. Couldn't find the child or any of the children. So then he came back, and what could he do? He was ready to commit suicide. This is honor. I've taken a vow, so I have to follow it. Who was that? Rukmi. He vowed that if he couldn't defeat Krishna and get his sister back, Rukmini, then he would give up his kingdom and live in exile. So he did it. He didn't say, well, I was naive. I didn't really know what I was promising. No excuses. My godbrother, Shesha Prabhu, attended the United States Military Academy at West Point. And he told me that practically the first few words you learn there are, "No excuses, sir." That's the answer. Why? No excuses, sir. So no excuses. Arjuna had given his word, and now he was ready to carry it out. But Krishna said, don't do that. Indirect, that'll look bad for me because I'm your friend. If you commit suicide, it'll reflect badly on me. It'll be all over Facebook. And there'll be no end to it. So in this way, then Krishna called his transcendental chariot, and they started off. And they went north, crossing through the different dvipas. As we learned from 5th canto, there are so many islands in the ocean of space, and so many oceans also between the islands. And Krishna took his chariot through all of these oceans and dweeps, and finally they came to the covering of the universe, where there's no light. And the horses hesitated, but they proceeded because Krishna released his Sudarshan chakra, illuminating everything. So this is Krishna's capability. Then Arjuna, as they crossed further, Arjuna saw the Karna ocean, the causal ocean, and the Brahmajyoti, the effulgence of the spiritual world, which is the destination of the impersonalists. The Brahmajyoti is non-different from Krishna, Shakti Mateyor Bheda, and Krishna claims this Jyoti, Brahmajyoti, is an expansion of my spiritual energy, or it's not different from me. So in the Brahmajyoti, Krishna and Arjuna came across they saw Mahavishnu lying on the bed of Sheshanag, and there was a large palace there, and within that palace, that's where they saw Sheshanaga and Mahavishnu lying on the bed of Sheshanaga very comfortably. And Krishna offered obeisances to the Mahavishnu. After all, Mahavishnu is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And Krishna was playing the part of a human being. So he offered obeisances to the Lord. Arjuna followed. And in the presence of the Lord were his personified energies. They are also described. Then Lord Mahavishnu began to speak, and he explained that I was eager to see you. I was eager to see you both, and therefore I'm the one who stole those children, one after another. No one else would have been able to do that, but Mahavishnu was able to do it. He identified Krishna and Arjuna with Narayan as incarnations or expansions of Narayan. And then Lord Krishna and Arjuna offered obeisances and took the children of the Brahmins, all of them, back to Dwarka. They'd all grown up, and Arjuna gave them all to the Brahmin. Arjuna was struck with wonder after visiting the spiritual world, and one should always be in Krishna consciousness and complete gratefulness to Lord Krishna, because whatever one may possess is all bestowed by him. Then it's mentioned that this was one of the many thousands of pastimes of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna. He performed so many activities, and he killed so many demons, protected the devotees, and established pious kings such as Yudhisthira at the helm of world affairs, so that peace and tranquility would ensue. Are there any questions or comments? Yes.
I have a question about suicide.
You have a question about suicide?
Yeah. In this chapter, Arjuna so easily, he's tried so hard, and then he says, okay, I'm going to jump into fire now. And we learn that it's not something that devotees do because they're condemned. Is there a different reaction? Because okay, well, he's Krishna's friend and he has special contacts, but throughout the scripture you see this, that they very easily, I'm going to jump into fire, or I'm going to commit suicide. And
well, this is the Kshatriya boldness. The Kshatriyas they're ready to fight even under suicidal circumstances. They'll fight against vastly superior forces where there's no hope of winning, just as a matter of honor. There's, I don't know that I should tell war stories, but there are prominent historical examples of soldiers who fought with no hope of victory, and rather than surrender, they fought to the last, because they were Kshatriyas. Yeah, they were Kshatriyas. So this is what Kshatriyas do. They're ready to sacrifice their life for the protection of others. A Brahmin won't do that. He won't fight. He may sacrifice his life like Dadichi Muni. All right, you want my bones? I'll give my bones. But he doesn't lead an army. He doesn't lead a charge. He doesn't. General Patton, the American general in the Second World War, is known to have been riding on the top of a tank attacking the enemy. It's crazy, right on the top of the tank. The tank is to protect you, and he's on the top of the the tank. But that's the kind of thing that soldiers do. And they also are known to boast. We find many instances in this 10th canto where Kshatriyas are boasting. If I can't do this, then I swear that I'll. So this is to offer assurance. I'll win, don't worry. If I can't win, I'll, do this or this or this. That means rest assured. So then it's like a guarantee. If you're not completely satisfied, we'll refund all your money. It's a strong guarantee. So that you say, all right, I guess I have faith in this merchant, this product. I'll get my money back if there's a problem. So Arjuna wanted to instill faith in the Brahmin that these others, so-called Kshatriyas, may have failed you, but I guarantee I'll get your son back. Don't worry. And what's the strongest form of guarantee? I'll give my life. One side is my promise, and the other side is my life. If I can't fulfill my promise, I'll sacrifice my life. Can't give a stronger guarantee than that. I'll die for you. I'm ready to die for you. Powerful guarantee. Oh, Vaishya's not going to say, I'll die for you. No, I'll give you your money back. That's almost like... That's painful enough for a Vaishya. But the Kshatriyas... So Arjuna, as a Kshatriya, put his life on the line. If I can't bring back your son, I'll sacrifice my life. And Arjuna must have been confident that he would do it, that he would succeed. But he failed. And as a man of honor, a man is as good as his word. As a man of honor, he was ready to do it. All right. It's not the easiest thing in the world. All right, I'll give up my life. It must have been, that's serious business. But he's ready to do it. Man of his word.
Thank you.
Yeah. In many cultures, in the Romans and the Greeks and the Egyptians, and even now, there are many accords of people having near-death experiences and experiencing this white light full of love. And is there any connection to the Brahmajyoti there?
Is there a connection to the Brahmajyoti in near-death experiences where people express seeing light and full of love and so on? Well, the usual description of near-death experiences with light and so on usually involves a being associated with the light. Some angelic presence, sometimes identified as God, sometimes identified as Jesus, or an angel. There are other kinds of near-death experiences, but in some reports there's like a being of light, an effulgent being. I would be slow to identify that as the Brahmajyoti for one reason: the Brahmajyoti is impersonal. And in these descriptions, there's a personality who's there, but effulgent. So as Krishna is effulgent, and his effulgence is the Brahmajyoti, but as Krishna is effulgent, these beings in people's near-death experiences are described that way. But I'd be slow to draw one-to-one connection between what they experienced and the Brahmajyoti. I think I mentioned the other day that there are also negative near-death experiences. I mentioned that? No? I did, right? There's an account, I may even have it on my Kindle, but there's a book published by an author, in fact, who had a horrific near-death experience. She was on the verge of death, or she, entered the world of near death, and it was terrible. It was fearful, and it was nightmarish. And she suspected that there must be other people who had hellish near-death experiences. And by her research, and really by sort of networking, she was able to confirm her suspicion, which meant that there was a sort of reporting bias. The near-death experience investigators were, it seems, excited by this idea that people are reporting these beautiful experiences of tranquility and divine presences and just wonderful things. And so they developed a sort of typology in which that was what you would expect of a near-death experience. There'd be a sort of an encounter, perhaps with departed relatives, perhaps with this or that, and often with a being of light. And there'd be this feeling of ineffable tranquility and peace, and then some desire would pull you back to your body, and you'd go on living. But and so experiences that didn't correspond to that tend to be filtered out, and also people were much more willing to volunteer accounts of their positive heavenly near-death experiences than they were to report ghastly, horrific ones. But this author reported various types of near-death experiences of a negative sort. And in one type, the predominating feeling was of voidness, of emptiness, of being in a meaningless quasi state of existence where nothing had any significance, where you were just in this eternal, endless nothingness, this eternal, endless, meaningless state or region of, maybe there were things in it, but they didn't mean anything. Anyway, it's not all peaches and cream in the NDE world. But that's closer to the impersonal existence. Kaivalyam narakayate. Srila Prabodhananda Saraswati wrote that the state of Kaivalya, absolute oneness with the Supreme, so much desired and pursued by the impersonalists, is hellish. Because there's no individuality, there's no love, no loving exchanges, so no devotion and service. So he described it as hellish. And some of these near-death experiences can be categorized that way. There's no God. When the person realizes that there's no personal God, there's just this endless, meaningless nothingness. Imagine you go to eternity and that's what there is. There's not the blissful sense gratification pictured in accounts of going to heaven. There are no angels. There's no parties. There's no divine presence. There's just this endless, meaningless nothingness for all eternity. And that's close to what the Mayavadis propose. It's close to what the Mayavadis propose. Kaya valyam narakayate. Prabhupada said out of frustration, because they've failed to enjoy this material world. So then out of sour grapes, they say, all right, it's all meaningless. It's all let me turn my back. Jagat Mithya, only the absolute truth is real. And their absolute truth is this impersonal conception.
A follow-up on that. If the Brahmajyoti is all one and you experience impersonal liberation, how is it possible in the sense that they said that the Brahmajyoti is made out of a combination of all living entities or all souls, and they can never give up their individuality even if they're not experiencing it?
It doesn't say all souls, but souls. Well, in one sense, all souls belong to the Brahmajyoti. Brahma Krishna is Brahman. He's the absolute truth. And all living entities are parts of the absolute truth. Mami Vamsa Jiva Loke, Jiva Bhuta Sanatana. So from that point of view, all the living entities are part of Krishna's effulgence or Krishna's absolute identity. But there are those who are merged, held in suspended animation in the impersonal feature, and those who are active either in the material world trying to enjoy their senses or in the spiritual world trying to serve Krishna, serving Krishna's senses. Is that okay?
Yeah, it's quite mystical, but I give the microphone to someone else. Yeah, I have many questions about Brahmajyoti.
Brahmajyoti, it's quite the questionable place. There was a question over here or a comment from Rukmini. Switch.
In this pastime, it feels a little selfish that Mahavishnu does this and makes the lady suffer through 9 in order to see Krishna. It feels a bit like abuse of power.
It seems like a selfish abuse of power that Mahavishnu did this, that he took these babies to Vaikuntha. It's not so bad, like Jarasandha, he took the kings and bottled them up in caves and starved them and so on. Here the babies all went to Vaikuntha. I can't really press charges for that. Excuse me? For the parents. Yeah, that's the pastime. It appears to be distressful, certainly for the parents. The Brahmin was expressing his despair and anger and so on. But that's arranged by Krishna's pastime energy. And at the end, it's all settled up. And his disappointment, what is it? Disappointment gives rise to the greatest satisfaction. Even if we think it was selfish, it was absolutely selfish. The Lord Mahavishnu is the Supreme Self. It's his position to be selfish. He can be selfish, and it's not a fault. If we're selfish, like the hand, if the hand wants the food in its palm, that's unwarranted selfishness, and it's also against the hand's own best interest. The hand is not capable of enjoying. But the body as a whole is the natural enjoyer, or the stomach is the natural enjoyer. So if the stomach asserts its primacy, that's not a fault. It's a fault for the hand, but not a fault for the stomach. So if Krishna acts selfishly, well, he's the Supreme Self. He's entitled. Something else?
Hare Krishna.
Even Krishna, someone may say, Krishna says, Sarva dharman parityaja mam ekam sharanam, surrender to me. Well, that's selfish. Why don't you give me a choice? I can surrender to you, I can surrender to Shiva, I can surrender to my girlfriend, I can surrender wherever I want to surrender. Instead, mam ekam, only me. So you're being selfish. True. We're parts of Krishna, he's the Supreme Self, so he's asserting his position. If I say I'm the President of the United States, I'm being crazy. But if the President asserts that he's the President, that's his constitutional position, literally. It's his constitutional position. If he orders out the army, that's it. The army goes. He has the authority. If I say I'm the president and I order the army, it's just goofy.
Prabhupada says about that in the next chapter.
Yeah, in the next chapter. No, this is chapter 89.
Oh, is it? No, it should be there.
Where is this? Let's see.
It's the next chapter.
Next chapter. Why does it say 89 here then?
Oh, I didn't see. Maybe some mistake.
It must be a mistake. Anyway, we'll find that this question as to why Krishna put the Brahmin in, there it is, chapter 90, into difficulty will be answered. The Lord is known as Brahmanya Dev, the worshipable deity of the Brahmins. So why was he inclined to put a Brahmin into such a terrible condition of lamentation over one son after another until the 10th son was taken away? Shall we leave this till the next session? Okay. This is one of the questions to be answered in the next chapter. Something else?
Hare Krishna, Maharaj. Actually, I have 3 questions.
One at a time.
Yes. Okay, the first one is just yesterday I asked about that point that Brahmana is to be excused if he commits some offense, and you explained, but you also said that you could add more, but we have to finish because of the time. So
right.
If you want to.
So you want me to say more about how Brahmins are excused? Okay. Because they're important. The Brahmin is the most important member of human society, just as the head is the most important part of the body. So if there's some offense or shortcoming on the part of the Brahmin, that's more likely to be excused because we need the Brahmins. The Brahmins are so important. They do such a service for the society. Even here in the material world, some highly posted person, it's excused. If the district magistrate or something is found speeding, let's say, of course in India there's no such thing as speeding. But if he were found speeding and that was an offense, he'd show his credentials and the police would wave him on because he's an important person. And for such important persons, minor infractions are forgiven. This is sometimes expressed by the phrase, rank has its privileges. Rank has its privileges. In the Manu Samhita also, we find that the Brahmins are dealt with lightly for offenses that other sections of society would be punished for quite heavily. On account of the Brahmins being of greater importance, and therefore being, and especially being very dear to Krishna. Brahmanya Dev, as we hear, Namo Brahmanya Devaya. So on that account, the Brahmins, it's taken into account. Even Draupadi was ready to excuse, not exactly excuse, but was horrified that this Ashwatthama has to be released. He killed her sleeping sons. He's a butcher, and she sees him bound and like an animal. Release him! Release him! Why? He's a Brahmin, and he's the son of our teacher. So it's taken into account. If he were just some ordinary dacoit, spit in his face and throw him in the, slice off his head. But he's a Brahmin. And he's the son of our teacher. The teacher's son is given respect. Oh, he's our teacher's son. And there was compassion and so on. So this is seen. And it may be criticized as favoritism or as bias or classism or what have you. But this is the Vedic consideration. And you find it elsewhere, or all over the world, really, that those who are in higher station are given some consideration. Even I was in, forget whether it was Congo or Nigeria, and I was going through the last little bit of immigration, passed through the passport control, passed through everything else, and there's finally one officer who's was stopping everyone and wanted to see what was in their purse, wanted to see what was here, wanted to see what was there. See every person, Then he came to me and took a look at me. He said, "Are you a priest?" And I said, "Well, yeah, sort of." He just gave a big smile and waved me on. That's considered that the Brahmins are connected with God. So they're given, of course, everyone's connected with God, but the Brahmins are especially connected with God. So then we treat them with special regard. Now, on the other side, the Brahmins, it's not a license that the Brahmins can be rogues and do anything. And the king just goes, "Oh, yeah." That's not the idea. And it's mentioned in Prabhupada's purports that the duty of the king is to see that everyone's performing his prescribed duty. So the Brahmin has to be acting as a Brahmin. That's the king's duty, to see to that. But still, the Brahmins were given consideration in every society. Societies are hierarchical. Someone wrote a book, Homo Hierarchus, as a description of the human being. We all recognize hierarchy. In a family, the parents are in the higher position, the kids are in the lower position. Your parents tell you have to take rest and you can't stay up and watch television. But why not? You're staying up, right? But they're the parents. They have the prerogative. And apart from that, especially in cultured societies, the children have to respect the parents. Or the juniors respect the seniors. Every day in Vrindavan, the Brajbasis would come and offer respect to Nanda Yashoda, the most respectable people in Vrindavan. Every day, it's the duty, one's duty to offer respect to one's parents. Yudhisthira Maharaj was offering respect to Dhritarashtra after Kurukshetra. Every day he would come and offer respects to Gandhari and Dhritarashtra. Till one day they were missing. But till then he was although Dhritarashtra had schemed against him in so many ways, although his sons had abused them so viciously, every day he would offer respects to Gandhari and Dhritarashtra. So this is the Vedic culture that whatever, but they're my superior. Even, what is that? In the Bhagavad Gita, Pujarha Varisudana, Ishubi Pratiyotya Katam Bhishma Maham Sankhe Dronam Cha Marusudana, Ishubi Pratiyotyami Pujarha Varisudana. My dear Krishna, how can I oppose in battle persons like Drona and Bhishma? It's not there. Ishubi Pratiyotyami. They're worthy of my worship. Pujarha Varisudana. They deserve to be worshipped, not opposed with weapons. What is that? Mahanubhavan. What is that? Boksham Vaiksham Apiha Loke Hatvarta Kamam Stu Guruni Haiva Punjiya Bhogan Rudira Pratiktan. We're missing the first word, but we'll get it. I would prefer to go to the forest and live as a beggar than to oppose Gurur Hatva Hi Mahanubhavan Shreyo Bhoktum Bhaiksham Apihalo. Better to live as a beggar than to slay such Mahanubhava, such highly respected persons. That's the mentality of a cultured person. He's so reluctant to oppose a superior, to say nothing of criticizing. Here in modern quasi-Vaishnav world, people think nothing of getting on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Asuragram, or whatever it is. And, letting it all fly and telling it like it is. And, this Maharaj is a fool, and that Maharaj is an offender, and this Maharaj is a rascal, and this senior devotee is a rogue, and that senior devotee is this, and this Vaishnav is this, and that Vaishnav is that. And they think that they're like great exponents of truth. And, apart from their devotional services to help make Mark Zuckerberg rich, more rich. But a cultured person is so reluctant to do that, so reluctant to criticize superior anyone, a dosha darshi. That's a quality of a devotee, a dosha darshi. He doesn't like to see the faults of others. Now, he's not a fool that he can't see, but he's averse to fault finding. He's averse to fault finding. That's one of the qualities of a Vaishnava, not that he takes pleasure. It may be that sometimes reluctantly one has to say something, but not that this is where we get our juice. We can't wait to get our fingers on the keyboard so that we can tell it like it is and save the world from pseudo Vaishnavas. It's the sign of a rude, crude, uncultured lout. I was wondering sometimes how Vaishnavas could behave like that. And then I figured it out. That it's either that they're fools pretending to be Vaishnavas, or that they're Vaishnavas pretending to be fools. In any case, that aside, we should be very careful and very reluctant, because a society that's just full of criticism of others soon becomes unbearable. It's not civilized. It's not a civilized place. Culture means that we're so reluctant, just like the cow and the bull, they're so reluctant to say, no, this is the culprit. And the Dharma Shastra is quoted that the person who identifies the culprit is also a culprit. Again, that's not to say that someone commits some unconscionable abuse and then the dodo onlookers go, but he's a Brahmin, he's a Vaishnava, and they just sweep it under the rug or turn a blind eye. There are justifications for appropriately doing something about that. It's not that heinous abuses should just be treated as normal behavior or in some way lightly excused or ignored. Not that. But one has to be nonetheless careful. One has to be careful and not take pleasure. Not take pleasure in finding faults with Vaishnavas. It should be painful that I have to report that this happened. Not that I knew it. They're all like this. It was just a question of time. And I can't wait to, put it out on some forum or other. It's most unhappy. And to have to report such a thing, to have to bring it up, although it may be one's duty, is not a pleasant duty. It's not a pleasant duty for a cultured person. Is that okay?
Yes. Thank you very much.
You had 3 questions.
Yeah. So,
Question 2.
question two, they are connected actually, and they are not related to Krishna book, but it's about Ritviks, and because we are organizing Padayatra festival every year in Czech Republic, and this year there was one new devotee, not like new to Krishna consciousness, but we met her for first time, and she was very enthusiastic, humble, nice, and she was doing all the service that we asked her to do. And during the 2 weeks of Padayatra, I came to know that she was initiated by Ritvik.
Who was she initiated by?
I don't know the name, but it's somebody from Alachua.
Well, you see, there's a problem. Because Srila Prabhupada, you met this girl, she was Ritvik, and she was initiated by someone in Alachua. There's a problem there, because according to the final order, the July 9th letter that Srila Prabhupada signed, and which is the proof text for the truth of the Ritvik philosophy, Srila Prabhupada explicitly said that henceforward, which they understand to mean forever, these 11 persons are authorized to act as Ritviks and initiate on Prabhupada's behalf. These 11, none of those 11 live in Alachua. Some of them have passed on. Some of them think that the Ritvik philosophy is bunk and they want nothing to do with it. Some of them are in a fallen state. So she has a problem. She's gotten Ritvik initiation, but it doesn't appear to be bona fide. So we have to advise her that you have to find one of these 11 explicitly authorized by Srila Prabhupada. And no mental concoctions that some, new GBC body can authorize 12 or 13. Prabhupada explicitly said these 11. So either make your bed and then make your bed and lie in it. If your philosophy is that the July 9th letter is the way, the truth, and the light, and that everything there should be taken as absolutely literal and true, then this is also absolutely literal and true. Henceforward, inconceivably, but in fact, these 11 only. And don't mentally concoct a 12th or a 13th or a 14th, because then you're bogus. Is that okay?
And she's not critical at all, and I was thinking about it. I don't want to burn
So
her.
what's your question then about her?
Yeah, the question is if she is not critical, not aggressive, and not like up till now, I only knew Ritviks that are like preaching against ISKCON gurus, everything critical, aggressive, and like that. And this, for me, I didn't know that Ritviks.
But there were
this.
nice Ritviks too.
Yeah. I didn't know. So if she's okay, if she can do service,
it's all right with me. Someone wants to do service, then we accept all sorts of people who want to do service, and some of those people may have some pretty strange ideas. But if they're willing to follow our principles and live in accordance with the norms of our society, I see no problem. Now, it's up to the local management, of course, but in principle, I see nothing wrong there. In part because people how did she get this idea? It's probably not because she's brilliantly creative or something. It came up, she must have associated with people who had that idea, and by their association, she picked up this notion.
From what I understand, that these were the first devotees that
she met these people, and they said this is the truth, and she simply accepted it. So by association, she got this idea. By different association, she may get a better idea. And if we don't give them an opportunity, then how will they change? Is that okay?
And the last question is just if because from what I understand, these devotees, there is somebody who does the yagya, who gives them the name, who gives them during second initiation, he gives them Gayatri, and so he's acting like their Diksha Guru technically, and they are taking main Shiksha from Srila Prabhupada. So I was thinking if how is it in terms of making spiritual progress, if they are not aggressive and critical, how does it work?
Well, something good is there. They're chanting Hare Krishna, they're reading Bhagavad Gita, they're taking prasadam, but something wrong is there also. Something wrong is there, that we don't really need a guru in person. We can go back to a previous generation and select a guru from there, and that's the whole thing. That's defective. So there may be, so that's a problem. Various people have various problems in their spiritual life, so that's a problem for her. She may have a lot of good there, and that's wonderful. And it may be that by her good assets, she can come out okay. Like in a disease, your heart is strong, your nervous system is good, your circulation is fine, your lungs are working great, but your liver is a mess. So, you can go, it's better than all your systems are shot. But if your liver or your gallbladder or anything is in problems, that can create difficulty. And the difficulty may not be seen now, it may be seen later, or in one way or another. But what do we say? There are many statements about not following the siddhantas. There'll be problems. There'll be a spiritual problem. And then, in fact, as you said, they kind of patch it, because they take it that, only Prabhupada is the guru, all this other stuff was invented by the GBC, or, it's all not true, that Prabhupada's the only guru. But then, as we see, that doesn't really work in practice. So then, factually, the temple president, who's teaching them that Prabhupada is the only real guru, becomes, what do they say? De facto, the guru. He's the one who tells them what their service should be. If they offend him, that's very bad. He's the one who tells them how to understand the philosophy. He's the person who kindly instructs them on everything that they need to know to make spiritual progress. And they're in Govardhan, at our ashram there, some years back, a group of people were from a city in South India, had come for Govardhan Parikrama, and it was arranged that they would take prasadam at at the Govardhan ashram. And they were nice devotees. They came and they were honored prasadam, and it was very nice. And at some point, our Keshav Bharati Maharaj was speaking with one or several of them, and he asked them, who's your guru? And they said, Srila Prabhupada. These are all young students. Srila Prabhupada. And he said, no, but who's really your guru? And then they spoke the name of their temple president, because he was actually their authority in carrying out their spiritual life. So you develop this whole philosophy where Prabhupada is the only guru, but then somehow or other someone else becomes effectively the guru.
Can I just have one more follow-up question, please? You spoke about that we don't jump over the generations.
And, excuse me. And he's only a guru because he tells you that you have to follow Prabhupada. He's not saying he's a guru. Prabhupada's the only guru. But who's he? And why should I listen to him? Well, because he's the guru. Yes.
You spoke about you said that we don't jump over the generation.
Mm-hmm.
And so how can we understand that in our parampara, that is at the end of the introduction to Bhagavad Gita, that there are generational gaps?
I was asked this, how is it that there are generational gaps in Bhagavad Gita in the disciplic succession that we cite, that's listed in the Bhagavad Gita? When we say you can't go up to the higher generation, you have to. Prabhupada explained that in that list, the prominent acharyas are mentioned. Not that every link is mentioned, but the prominent links are mentioned. Otherwise, you see, links of one or more, gaps of one or more generations. But Prabhupada said the prominent links are mentioned.
I also heard the explanation that it's like the Shiksha Parampara.
Yeah, maybe, but that you still run into that problem that, my Shiksha Guru left the world 300 years ago. So that's why I didn't comment on Shiksha Dikshu, because it's the same issue, that you have no direct contact. Person's been gone for 200, 300 years, if we're looking at that line. Or more. So Prabhupada explained that not every member is mentioned. Okay? Our time has come. Now, regarding our schedule, I'm leaving the country tomorrow, and I'll be gone on Friday and Saturday. I'll come back Sunday, but I think not in time for the evening's program. Am I right?
Yeah, just
cutting it pretty close. So that means that on tomorrow and Saturday and Sunday, we won't have a class, and we'll begin again on Monday with the last chapter of Krishna book and the answers to the questions concerning the Brahman and so on. Okay? Yes, Tulsi.
What will happen after the last chapter?
What will happen after chapter 90? We go back to chapter 1. Was there another question? Yes?
Hare Krishna Maharaj. My question was, when you said that we have to offer respects to our parents, how can one be more respectful to the parents?
But this is a question about, this isn't a question. This is a question, I just meant questions about the schedule. As far as questions about, general topics, we've run to the end of our time. But Monday you can ask. All right? Kirtan.
Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai. Nama Acharya Srila Haridas Thakur ki jai. Prem se kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Sri Sri Radha Krishna Gop Gopinath Sham Kund Radha Kundi Giri Govardhan ki jai. Vrindavan Dham ki jai. Navadip Dham ki jai. Jagannath Puri ki jai. Ganga Mai ki jai. Jamuna Mai ki jai. Tulsi Devi ki jai. Bhakti Devi ki jai. Samaveta Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. Gaur Premanande.